Hi, everybody, and welcome to NLBP TV. I am your host, Camille Miller, and the founder and executive director of the Natural Life Business Partnership. Today, we are here with Steve Adler, also known as Sacred Steve. Thanks, Steve, for joining us today. How are you?
Good. Thanks, Camille. Thanks for having me on.
So happy to have you here. So I want to go through a little bit about your journey, who you are, and kind of get caught up so our audience also knows who you are. So correct me at any time if I'm wrong, because I just read through all of your notes and your website and everything. But to me, you're kind of thinking, and I'm sure you've heard this a lot, the Willy Wonka of the raw cacao. And I just kind of want to talk about like how you got into that. So I read, unless I'm wrong, that are you actually a Stanford trained rocket scientist?
I am. I'm a rocket scientist turned chocolate scientist.
I read that and went, wow, that's someone really truly going after being their authentic self. So I would love to hear how you made a little bit of that transition, and then, you know, talk about, you know, how you got into raw foods and all of that. Is that good for you?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. You want to understand my raw authentic self.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that. Yes. Well, you clearly have done this before. Yes. Your raw authentic self. Love to hear the journey.
Sure. Well, actually, I got into raw foods through Tony Robbins, you know, the famous motivational speaker.
I sure do. He had a big impact in my own life.
Yeah, so I read his book, Unlimited Power, way back, I think it was like around 1993. And in that book, chapter 10, actually, he discusses the power of you know, going vegetarian or vegan, and he discusses the power of juicing and juice fasting and cleansing and all kinds of stuff. He lists all these famous philosophers throughout history, including Einstein, who are vegetarian. And I thought to myself, you know, Tony Robbins knows something, and maybe I should listen to him, and maybe I should explore this a little bit. I was already kind of into health and nutrition a little bit, but really completely uneducated on the subject. And so he inspired me. So that's what happened. I got into it. And the more I dove into it, and the more I was reading his book and then other books that he led me to, I realized that actually probably raw foods is really the most optimal. And I'd never really heard that before. I'd never heard that, you know, raw foods are the way that maybe we should naturally eat, and like maybe our ancestors ate that way before fire and all that sort of stuff, because I'm sure we lived on this planet for millions of years before fire.
Yeah.
And so I thought, maybe there's some truth to this. So as I dove into you know, that subject matter, reading and experimenting on myself, I really started to have a lot of epiphanies. I did go through a whole detox, just like Tony Robbins had kind of called in his book, and I was very surprised by that. And I was like, wow, there's really some truth. And so as I got into it more and more, I figured that I wanted to make it part of my life, and because it was having such positive benefit to me personally. And so that's how I got into the whole raw foods. And then you know, a few years later, I met David Wolfe, who's a real well-known author and speaker on the subject of raw foods and herbs and natural healing and things like that. And we became friends. And then a few years after that, he discovered that you could just eat raw cacao just straight out of the pod, and that actually in that form, it was really a super potent, nutrient-dense superfood. And so he started to market raw cacao beans. This is back around maybe the year 2000, 2001, 2002. And he started selling these raw cacao beans on the open market. And he would give them to me at times, and they were quite bitter. I wasn't too crazy about them, but I'd put them in my smoothies or whatever. And then after a while, he finally wrote a book about it, about the power of eating raw cacao. And that book's called Naked Chocolate. You know, you could look it up. We sell it on our website, sacredchocolate.com, if you want to check it out. But you know, after he wrote that book, it kind of was an eye opener to me, because I was like, maybe this is a real trend. So I already loved the subject of raw foods, and I was already had kind of a side business distributing raw foods on the internet. And I thought it'd be cool to start actually manufacturing something. And this was like the latest buzz. And as I got into it, I was wondering if you actually had to cook the cacao bean in order to make like finely tempered gourmet chocolate. And as I dove into that further, I realized, no, you don't. You don't have to cook or roast that cacao bean at all, actually, it turns out.
Yeah.
And so you can take that raw seed and basically turn it right into chocolate, finely tempered gourmet chocolate, without ever heating it. And so that's what we got into in around 2005, 2006. And we started Sacred Chocolate in 2006. And so that's kind of how I got into it. There's also other factors. My spiritual path kind of led me to it, hence the name Sacred Chocolate. It was originally Sacred Heart Chocolate, and then we just kind of shortened it to Sacred Chocolate. So there, kind of a whole bunch of factors came together. My love of raw foods, my association with David Wolfe, my spiritual path. That's how we got started with, raw chocolate and Sacred Chocolate.
Just love it. So I also read that the shape of your sacred chocolates all are done on like a mathematical scale.
Yeah, that came to me in a dream, actually, and because I was trying to think of a good logo for the product, and it in a dream, actually, I saw the icon, the logo, which is this heart-shaped logo, and it was kind of coming at this sort of spiral, shape, and I thought, well, why not, make it a golden spiral? So as I started drawing and playing around with it, I was like, yeah, you could actually make and I'm a minister of the Sacred Heart, so for me, it was like, wow, you could actually build like a heart shape out of these golden spirals, which is, mathematically, it's a logarithmic spiral growing at the rate of phi being this irrational number that shows up in nature, and it's in the shape. That curve is the shape of like certain seashells and patterns and flowers, sunflower seeds, for example, or the shape of a spiraling galaxy. All these shapes, show up in this sort of special curve called a golden spiral. And even, the ancient Greeks and Romans used to build their architecture by this ratio, which is like, it's like pi, only it's 1.618, blah, blah, blah. It's an irrational number, goes forever. And so, so there's a lot of natural beauty to it. It's kind of an aesthetic. So I thought, heck, why not work that into the geometry of the actual bar itself? So that's what I decided to do. And so that's why it's shaped that way, and basically based on sacred geometry.
But so is that like the Fibonacci sequence?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, exactly. So that rate of growth can also be described using that Fibonacci sequence of numbers, which is just an infinite series of numbers.
Yeah. I had a daughter that was like obsessed with that. That's the only reason I know that.
Oh, okay, that's great.
She was just like, she was into math and science and art, and she's like, Mom, there's this sequence, and I'm like, okay, and then I just know it now.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so it was just a thing. So I have another daughter who I told her that I was interviewing you, and she's like, Mom, all I want to hear that chocolate is good for us. So I was like, I promised to ask that question. So how is chocolate, which I know is, the raw form of chocolate, good for us? I told her it's not a Hershey bar. This is totally different.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like I said, that raw seed, and it's really the seed of botanically it's a nut, because it's high in fat, and it's the seed of a fruit. It's kind of a big pod, and in that pod are usually about 20 to 40 seeds or nuts, and they're covered in a mucilaginous white fleshy kind of fruit, which is sort of tart and tangy in nature. And that seed, it turns out, is just extremely high in antioxidants, the main one being epicatechin. And in fact, as a whole food, no one's found a whole food higher in antioxidant concentration on a whole planet than that seed.
Really?
Yeah, that's the truth. They've found, of course you can get concentrated forms of antioxidants that are much higher. For example, whatever, clove bud essential oil, or something like this, or wheat germ or something. But as far as a whole food is concerned, nothing is as concentrated in antioxidants as the cacao seed. And so that's one reason right there. Another reason is it has actually the word cacao itself, if you search back to its etymology and what it really means in the Mesoamerican language, its translation is heart blood. And so it turns out that they knew something, because a lot of compounds found in the seed are really good for our circulatory system. There are dopamine compounds that actually make the blood more slippery, so in other words, less viscous. Actually, decades ago, they used to give theobromine, which is concentrated in the seed, as a stimulant to heart attack victims, to get their hearts to relax.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that theobromine it's a mild stimulant, but it also has this reverse effect in that it's a smooth muscle relaxant. So it dilates blood vessels naturally. And so that's another thing that is really good about cacao. Cacao has a lot of neurotransmitter type chemicals like serotonin and dopamine and anandamide that make you all feel good and relaxed. It's high in tryptophan. It's high in certain minerals, like magnesium and iron. So, as you get into it, there are hundreds of actual beneficial nutrients in the cacao seed. It's one of the most nutrient-dense foods on the face of the planet. And there are also hundreds of compounds and trace amounts that are just not even identified. So if you did a Google search, you'd find at least 150 that are in significant amounts that are good for the human body, and probably 300 in trace amounts that are identified. And then beyond that, there are a lot of things that are unidentified. So cacao is one of these interesting foods that, has a huge cultural history. It is, in its natural form, obviously a nutrient-dense food because it's a seed, it's a nut. So and then it's very high in antioxidants. And it has all these other interesting compounds in it that overall make you feel good, make you energized, make you relaxed, things like that.
Wow. So your chocolate, I guess they're hearts, not bars. I'm sure I haven't tasted one, but I'm sure you've come up with a way to take that bitterness out. Does it actually taste like a chocolate bar, or it's just kind of a raw seeded bar?
Well, I think in our niche, which is raw chocolate, we're still considered the leader in the world as far as combining the superior nutrition of the raw seed with gourmet flavor. So we've won, multiple awards on just our flavor profiles alone. There's sure a slight flavor difference compared to, say, a traditionally roasted or cooked chocolate bar. It's analogous to, say, for example, the difference in flavor between a roasted almond and a raw almond, right? Any seed that you cook or roast at high temperature being, say, over 250 degrees Fahrenheit, it's going to bring out a lot of different flavor notes. So when you roast cacao, it'll typically bring out a lot more bitter flavor notes. One of the downsides, there are a lot of downsides to cooking or roasting. You degrade a lot of the antioxidants. You degrade a lot of the other nutrients. For example, cacao is very high in a nutrient called phenylethylamine, PEA, which is another, one of those neurotransmitter-like chemicals that, basically make your brain kind of turn on, if you will. And in the raw seed, there are 8 analogs found of PEA, but after they roast it, only 1 is found. So a lot of these nutrients are very heat sensitive. And so, yeah, flavor is subjective at the end of the day. Some people love the flavor of, say, a raw almond compared to a roasted almond, and vice versa. So, you can't really, it's hard to argue on the subject area of flavor, since everybody is unique in that way. Yeah. But on the nutrient side, it's not hard to argue at all. It's pretty much kind of just basic science. Another one of the downsides, besides destroying various nutrients like antioxidants and stuff through roasting, is the creation of carcinogens. For example, when you roast, pretty much any seed or any starchy food, you cook it at high temperature, you create, say, for example, acrylamide. Acrylamide is a known carcinogen in the state of California, and a lot of, for example, coffee shops like Starbucks have to. We have this thing called Proposition 65 notice warning, which means that they have to post that, hey, there could be some carcinogens in this food, and of course, coffee being roasted is going to generate acrylamide, which is a carcinogen, and of course, cacao. If you roast it at high temperature, you're going to create those carcinogenic compounds. So, but to answer your original question, our chocolate tastes slightly different, but I think it tastes great. And that's a matter of that's a subjective matter. You just have to kind of experience it and see for yourself if you like it or not.
Right. Wonderful. My gosh. So to find your products, is it only on your own website? Do you distribute? Can we find it anywhere? If people are listening to this, we sell it on our website, of course, sacredchocolate.com. Yep. We are sold in certain health food stores around the country, mostly independent health food stores. We're not a national brand, obviously. You could buy it other places online, Amazon, we sell it. There are other, davidwolf.com sells it. Vitacost, different websites. You can find it if it's not in, say, a store that you frequent. Excellent. And how long have you been doing this with the sacred chocolate part? Well, we were the first company in history to ever produce a finely tempered gourmet chocolate bar using unroasted cacao, and that was back in 2006. Wow, you've come a long way then. We've been around for a while. When you first thought this up, of like going in this direction, you kind of have this vision and you followed it out. Did it change along the way? What was that journey like for you? Was it hard? Oh yeah, I mean, we're kind of still that struggling small business. It's not easy. The margins in the food business are quite thin, and there's a lot of regulation. There's a lot of overhead, especially where we manufacture here in Northern California. Obviously we're certified organic. We answer to a lot of government authorities and different agencies. So it's not easy. It's definitely a struggle to make it as a small food manufacturer. And I've learned a lot on the way, made a lot of mistakes, of course, along the way. And we're still here, fortunately. Thank God. Thanks to our loyal customers and fans who love our product. But we are looking for investors, actually. So, and I'll put that out there if anybody's listening, if anybody's interested in investing in Sacred Chocolate, we're definitely open and eager to entertain any possibilities in that area. I'm curious, for the investors, is it so you can go wider, produce more? It's basically so that we can all of the above, to produce more, to be able to go wider, to be able to reach out as far as our marketing and sales and branding is concerned, to upgrade a lot of things like our website and stuff like that. So there's basically investment needed in kind of all areas of the business. I'm thinking Shark Tank. Yeah, a lot of people have said that, but
You know, those guys typically are looking for 10 times on their money, which is more kind of a high-tech thing. It's you know, it's a small food business where it's, you know, it's probably worth it applying at least, but it's,
they have taken those, like they took like some cupcake business and.
Oh, okay.
They
All right.
do food, but if they can't do it, they'll tell you.
Yeah, sure. It's always worth it.
Well, I don't know this to be true, but I would just think from being within the entrepreneur world that even if they don't invest, you just got on a national show asking for investors.
Yeah, no, I know. I've heard that.
It's like putting it out in the universe.
No matter what, if you get on the show, that's the hard part. But no matter what, if you get on the show, that right there is a success, of course.
Terrific. Yeah, excellent. Yeah. Well, oh my gosh, this is actually a great story for me to do. A great learning about it. I'm so glad that we connected. Is there anything that I forgot to ask that's really important for our audience to know?
Not on the top of my head. I mean, we focus on health and nutrition, and so if you get into our bars, you know, we've got very exotic stuff. We've got chocolate with nutraceuticals such as CBD in them, xanthohumol, resveratrol, curcumin. We've got probably the only high protein gourmet milk chocolate bar on you know, in the world. It uses a grass-fed, certified organic, low-temperature processed whey protein concentrate. So it's technically a milk chocolate that's a very high protein bar. It's very gourmet. So we do a lot of exotic stuff, and you know, we also, you know, we're using alternative sweeteners. Example, we're not too many companies out there sweetened with organic maple sugar. You know, we're focused on, obviously, you know, the environment. We're not using hybridized cacao. We're making sure our cacao is not being produced by, you know, like slave labor in Africa, which is still going on, believe it or not. It's very sad. You know, the hybridization is causing deforestation. There's some big issues out there. So, I mean, I would say that anybody buying chocolate, whether it's our chocolate or not, make sure that it's at a minimum fair trade certified and organic, or certified organic. And then if you can now, and it's not, there's no certification, but there should be eventually certified heirloom shade grown, because if it's not shade grown, it's hybridized, and they're cutting forests left and right to plant hybridized cacao that will grow in full sunlight because it's better for their bottom line. So there are huge ethical issues around chocolate and cacao, and it's really important that people are aware of that. You know, we've posted some videos on our website about these issues that, you know, I encourage people to watch. And yeah, so that, you know, that's a big thing, is choosing chocolate that's organic, raw, fair trade, healthy sweeteners. Maple, we use inulin, we use erythritol, things like that.
That's good information. Some of that, the shades and stuff, I didn't know any of that. My background was actually organic agriculture. I worked in Washington on the organic label, so I know that part, the fair trade, all of that. I didn't know anything about the shade and that piece of it. So that's good information.
Yeah, it's a big issue right now. I mean, you know, they're monitoring it by satellite in places like Ecuador, Peru, especially West Africa. You know, 70% of the world's crop of cacao comes from just 2 countries in Africa. That whole ecosystem's been devastated by cacao. I mean, literally, I know somebody who I was interviewed with, and she went undercover, risked her life, and interviewed like poachers out in Africa, and they were like, yeah, we don't even poach animals anymore because they're all gone, because the ecosystem's gone, and you know, it's because the cacao, they've just literally just taken out forests to plant huge plantations of cacao. So, you know, things like that. Even in Indonesia, there's a lot of it going on in Indonesia, planting of you know, hybridized cacao and taking out forests to do it. So it's a big, huge issue, and it's kind of still under the radar. People aren't aware of this issue, you know, and it's really needs to get out there.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. If people are watching this later, how do they get in touch with you? And we're also going to put that in the show notes. So
Yeah, the best, obviously, sacredchocolate.com. You know, you can just contact us through our website, you know.
And are you able to buy bulk on your website?
Bulk in the sense of,
I'm thinking like personal bulk. Like I wouldn't want to buy one bar. Like if I was going to buy it, then I'd want it to last.
oh, yeah, you can buy as many bars as you want. Absolutely. Yeah.
I meant like a case, not one bar at a time.
Yeah, I mean, probably the best way to go that is we do those kind of case deals on Amazon.
Okay.
So yeah, that's might be the best way. But we also do, the thing about on our website is you can do mixed cases. We allow kind of sort of mixed cases on our website with these kind of free shipping bundles. So yeah, we have like a free shipping bundle, like, or you know, order 12 bars, get free shipping, and you can kind of choose the different flavors. So there's a little bit of advantage of, there's a little bit of advantage of going to our website for that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Because I was like, if I get one bar and I like it, I don't want to wait and get another one. I'd rather just buy it like a month's worth because I keep them with me, you know.
Yeah, and we have a little sample pack on our website. So you can,
yeah,
you can order. It's like $10 plus shipping, and you can taste all 22 flavors. We also manufacture nut butters. So we manufacture 4 different nut butters currently: a cashew butter, a coconut butter, an Amazonian jungle peanut butter, and an almond butter. And those are all stone ground, you know, for many days at low temperature. They're really amazing.
Wonderful. I'm glad I asked. I feel a sample pack coming.
All right. All right.
Well, thank you so much for your time tonight. I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us and telling us about your story and your chocolate. And it's just amazing to hear your story and all about your product. Really great.
Well, thank you for having me on, Camille. I really appreciate you, you know, reaching out and taking the time with me and helping get our message out there more. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks so much again.